could we see another number one team go down this Saturday? The Oregon Ducks are the number one team in the country for the first time since 2012, but they're facing off against a top 20 Illinois team, a sneaky good Illinois team in the Big Ten that's looking to shock the nation and ensure that the Ducks stay on top of the college football world is very, very short. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. Ready to break down this top 20 matchup. Number 20 Illinois, number 1 Oregon in Eugene on Saturday afternoon. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our exclusive expert picks. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. We're on like a 73% run in our college football best bets, 9-3-1, I believe that is. We're hitting over 60% of our NFL best bets. So if you want to win big with us and be at a handicapper and a site that's beating out over 80% of the national handicappers, a site that's one of the lowest prices in the country and is offering you all of that for a full year, full 365 days, this is the place for you. It's never too early to sign up. It's never too late to sign up. Go take advantage of it. Again, the link down in the description below over on thegridironexpert.com. So let's dive into this game. I'm excited for it. We've got a week in college football where there's 5 ranked versus ranked matchups, and it might get overshadowed by A&M and LSU, Alabama, Missouri for some, but this game in Eugene is going to be a lot of fun because Illinois has shown us they can compete. They just beat Michigan by 14. They went on the road and beat Nebraska. They only lost to Penn State and Happy Valley by 14, and that was a 7-point game with a little under 3 minutes remaining in the game. So they held their own in Happy Valley against what is now the number 3 team in the country. So do not write off Illinois so quickly. Take a look at their offense. Look, the Fighting Illini are not an explosive offense by any means, but they are an efficient offense. They ranked as 94th overall, averaging 365.6 yards per game, only 219 through the air, only 146 on the ground. But their quarterback, Luke Altmaier, does a fantastic job engineering and leading this offense. He's thrown for over 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, and has only turned it over once. Only 1 interception so far this year. They do a great job of spreading the ball out. They've got 2 great receivers in Pat Bryant and Zach Franklin, both of which have over 300 reception yards. And they've got 5 players that have rushed for at least 100 yards so far this season. The key for them, if they want to pull off this massive upset on Saturday, is obviously to limit your mistakes. They don't commit many, but do not turn the ball over, take very good care of the football, and then dominate the time of possession. The longer, I should say, that you can keep Oregon's offense off the field, the better it's going to be for you. So if you're Illinois, if you can take up 7, 8-minute long drives and get points out of those drives, you're going to be sitting really, really good. Dominate that time of possession. Make sure you convert if you take that long, and limit the amount of time that Oregon sees the field and put the pressure on them every time they step foot on the gridiron. You take a look at Illinois, they have won the time of possession in 4 of the 7 games that they have played, but they really haven't dominated it in any of those games. Maybe won it by a few minutes, sometimes just by a few seconds. They've got to be able to really take control and make Oregon play down to their slower style. Oregon, on the other hand, we know that they are not a slow team. They are an explosive team. They are an electric team. They are a fast team. They are 21st in the nation in total offense, 458.6 yards per game. They're 13th in the nation, averaging a little over 300 passing yards per game, led, of course, by Dillon Gabriel, who's thrown for over 2,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. In the last 2 weeks, you look at Gabriel, he was okay against UCLA, okay against Michigan State, and everybody was like, Oregon. Remember when people were criticizing Oregon? I was a little skeptical myself. Idaho, they didn't look good. Boise State, they didn't look that great. Didn't look that great against lower-level teams. God, people thought they were going to get destroyed against Ohio State. We did pick Oregon to beat the Buckeyes, I will add. But everybody was concerned about the Ducks' offense and what they were doing. Gabriel was just waiting to shine for that Ohio State game. Kind of keeping everything in their back pocket until it was time to really let loose for Ohio State. In the last 2 weeks, Dillon Gabriel has thrown for 631 yards, 4 touchdowns, just 1 interception, and is completing over 74% of his passes. So the Ducks may have gotten off to a slow start statistically and looks-wise at the beginning of the year, but they are firing on all cylinders now. Tez Johnson, over 500 reception yards on the year with 7 touchdowns. Evan Stewart, over 400 reception yards and 3 touchdowns on the year. But it's the run game for Oregon. We talk so much about the pass, how great Dillon Gabriel is, how explosive they can be. The deep shots are finally starting to fall now for the Ducks. But it's the run game that could be the difference maker on Saturday. Jordan James, has over 700 rushing yards on the year, 8 rushing touchdowns, and we say it could be the difference maker because Illinois' rushing defense isn't good. It just isn't. They're allowing 145 rushing yards per game, which doesn't sound bad, but then you go back and look at individual games. They allowed 114 rushing yards last week to Michigan. That's not a horrible mark. Michigan doesn't have a good offense at all. So holding the Wolverines, who want to run the ball, to 114, not too bad. But then they allowed 239 rushing yards to Purdue. They allowed 239 rushing yards to Penn State, 142 to Central Michigan, 186 to Kansas back in week 2. They have not had a consistently strong rushing defense and have actually been torched on the ground in the majority of their games, but their secondary and the efficient offense that they have and the fortunate turnovers that Illinois has been able to force have helped lead them to this 6-1 start to the year. So they've got to find a way to stop the ground game and make Oregon one-dimensional, force this game to be won solely through the air by Dillon Gabriel, which would kind of play into the defensive strength for Illinois because the Fighting Illini are giving up just 198.9 passing yards per game. They have a very, very strong secondary. Very, very strong secondary. So if you can force him to try to win the game solely by himself through the air, you're playing into your defensive strength, and maybe then you can create some pressure. Illinois has forced 19 sacks on the year. Maybe then you can force a handful of interceptions. We've seen Gabriel do that multiple times throughout this year, although he's only committed 1 in the last 2 games. That's what you've got to do. That's what you've got to do if you're the Fighting Illini. Look, they forced 3 turnovers against Michigan and scored 10 points off of them. They forced 4 turnovers against Kansas. They scored 10 points off of them. They are winning the turnover battle. They're scoring points off of those turnovers. Those 10 points against Michigan, massive in a 14-point win. 10 points against Kansas, massive in what was a 6-point win. So forcing turnovers, making Oregon one-dimensional, all of that going to be massive for Illinois if they want to pull off the upset on Saturday. Oregon, meanwhile, defensively, I don't think it's talked about nearly enough because, again, I think our focus so much on Oregon is on their offense and how good they are and how fun they are to watch. But this defense for Oregon is a top 15 unit. They're only giving up 297.9 yards per game. And as I've always said for years, if you are on average or holding your opponents to under 300 yards per game, that is pretty dang good. They're only giving up 175 passing yards per game, only 122 rushing yards per game. And here's the difference maker here. The size, the strength, the speed of Oregon's defensive line, specifically their front 7, but mostly their defensive line, against Illinois' offensive line, which isn't bad but hasn't been great. The Ducks have 20 sacks already on the year. Illinois has given up 20 sacks already this year. It's kind of like poetry there. Very interesting. And I look at Oregon defensively. Again, a little bit more. Their run defense, it's been a little shaky at times. They gave up 208 to Purdue, so Purdue's got a good running game. That's about all they've got going for them. They gave up 141 rushing yards to Ohio State, sure. But for the most part, they've been pretty solid. They gave a lot to Boise State and Ashton Jeanty, I get it. But for the most part, they've been pretty solid. And it's not going to matter too much if that front 7 is getting a lot of pressure, a lot of push, and stuffing the run, which I think they can do, and creating pressure on their quarterback. Altmaier's only turned the ball over 1 time this year, only 1 interception. I think he doubles that. I think he gets to at least 1 interception this game, maybe even throws 2 interceptions in this game against what is, again, a very fast, physical, aggressive, and underrated Oregon defense. I think is going to be looking to make a statement in their first game as the number 1 team in the country since 2012. So ultimately, guys, here's the thing. I don't think Illinois gets destroyed in this game. Oregon's going to win. Oregon is going to win this game, and they're going to win it by double digits. It's just a matter, are we talking 10 or 14, or are we talking like 28-35? That's the difference maker there. I'm thinking maybe it's somewhere in the middle. 17 to 21 points maybe for Oregon in this game. Illinois has proven to us that they can hang with some top dogs. Again, I look at that Penn State game. They didn't win the game. They lost by 14 points, but they held their own for the entire 60 minutes. Nebraska is not an easy place to play. They won that game in overtime. They beat Michigan, who I know is not great, but still beat them by 14. Illinois got the talent, guys. They're not just going to come into Eugene, roll over, and hope to get away with some of their pride. They're going to play a very hard physical game, and they are going to slow down the pace a little bit. But Oregon has just got too many athletes. They've got too many big play capabilities. They're going to end up winning this game, as we said, by double digits, wearing down that Illinois defense. If the offense can't stay consistent, if the offense can't stay out in the field long enough for the Fighting Illini, that defense will get run down by Dillon Gabriel. I think that's exactly what happens. Oregon wins. Again, I'm thinking anywhere between a 17 to 24-point range, but the Ducks get a win, and they will stay atop the college football world for at least 1 more week as we inch closer and closer to the end of the season and the start of the college football playoff. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes those expert picks over on thegridironexpert.com. Do not miss out on those. Some of the best picks in the country. We want you to take advantage of them and sign up with us today. Get the link down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.